Boston's going to come out, hopefully, you would think, fairly quick. They can hit a ton of threes, and that's kind of what they've done in these game ones, is their shooting has been on. But the Pacers, again, coming off momentum from that series with the Knicks, they're going to look to run and try and force the Celtics to get into an up and down type of game, and that's going to push this total over. So I would look at the Celtics on the side tonight, -9.5. I would look at the total over 220.5. But I might, I don't know if I'll officially bet it, but I would take Indiana in the first quarter plus the points, because I think Boston could take a few minutes to get their feet wet before they really take over this game.
Yeah, I think the overs are a pretty good look. I think when it comes to the postseason, overs seem more logical to me in the first couple games of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more meaningful the games get, like say when you get down to a game seven, that's when I usually take a look at unders. Even though unders and Pacers, that's a pretty scary thought. Like you could have just said, I'm taking an over in a Pacers game, and you wouldn't have had to explain yourself much further. Because you're right, this is a team that likes to speed up the tempo. They're very athletic. They're very good at scoring points on the fast break. I think the question is, what kind of defense are we going to get from the Celtics? I think a lot of that kind of is game to game. We will see the kind of effort that they put in. One would think, it's the Eastern Conference Finals. We will get a good look, but they have been known for lapses.
One level further, and I think we first need to talk about the series spread and how to bet this series, because you can get the Pacers plus 2.5 games on the series for plus money. I believe it's still plus 125 over at BetMGM. You can get over 5.5 games at plus money, and I think those, whichever bet you want to take, I think they're kind of mutually exclusive. Like if the Pacers win or cover the plus 2.5, this series is going over 5.5 games. You can get Celtics to win the series 4-2, which is what I think is going to happen. I believe that's at like 4-1 odds right now. So there are a lot of plus money ways that you can bet this series. Boston has shown us through the first two series of this postseason and even last year's postseason, they're going to give you a game. They gave a game to Miami, game 2. They gave game 2 to Cleveland as well. They almost gave Cleveland another game despite the Cavs not having Donovan Mitchell. So the Celtics aren't disciplined enough to lock in throughout the entire series. They're going to let their guard down at some point, or they're going to allow a team to get hot shooting, which we just saw the Pacers do in game 7 against the Knicks. They shot 71% in that first half, 67% for the full game. That happens against Boston. Like, there's another game that the Pacers are going to have. So I think the Pacers plus 2.5 or the series to go over 5.5 games for plus money is a fantastic way to look at this.
You have alluded to this. The Celtics have the problem with kind of, I don't want to say, lollygagging or losing their focus, but it feels like they're always good for like one loss. Like if they gave up a game to the Miami Heat without Jimmy Butler, or the Cleveland Cavaliers without Donovan Mitchell, and some of those games were way closer than they should have been, do you think the Pacers have a chance to win some of these games?
I do. I think Boston's going to win this series in 6 games. I love them tonight, minus the 10, because we saw them in the same exact scenario against the Cavs, where Cleveland was coming off that series against Orlando that went 7 games, and then it was a quick turnaround. Cleveland goes to Boston, and the Celtics beat them by 20. I think the same kind of thing could happen tonight to Indiana, and then I would look at backing the Pacers in Game 2, because to your point, Chelsea, like, Boston the last couple of years, and especially this year in the postseason, like, everything has happened the same. Game 1, whether it's Miami or Cleveland, they blow them out. Everybody thinks, oh, okay, Boston's going to sweep them. Like, this is the team that we saw in the regular season. And then Cleveland or Miami come right back in Game 2 and not only cover, but they win outright. I kind of think the same thing could happen in this series. So my favorite bet in this series is you can bet for what the correct series score will be after 3 games. I love Boston to be up 2-1 in this series after 3 games. It's like plus 110 on BetMGM, but I love Indiana to get that split in Boston, or I love them to win that Game 3 at home and make it 2-1. But to me, that's just like what I feel good about is this series being 2-1 somehow. And then I do think it ends up going to 6 games. Indiana can score as well as anyone, and I think that's going to put a lot of pressure on Boston's on Boston's defense, and certainly the way that both teams play, at times wanting to go up tempo and shoot a lot of threes and score. I think Indiana is going to be able to hang in some of these games. So I do think Boston wins the series. I wouldn't sprinkle or, bet anything on the Pacers to beat them. But, yeah, I think this series could be more competitive and go a little bit longer than people think. So I'll take Boston in 6.
The best players that she played against in college are some of the worst players that she's facing in the WNBA. Like, you're getting the cream of the crop here. So it's an adjustment. It's an adjustment with a brand new team, a new coach, too. I mean, she was with Lisa Bluter at Iowa for 4 years. All of a sudden, you have a brand new coach. There's going to be some adjustments. I think she's done a fantastic job just navigating all those things. Like, the numbers she's putting up are still really impressive, knowing that she's in a totally new environment and everyone's coming at her. Like, everyone wants a piece of her. They all want to be the one that slows her down. So she's getting everyone's best effort early in the season. And Chelsea, these first 4 games, they played 2 of the best teams in the league. Mm-hmm. They've only had, their 4 games, 2 of them have been against the Connecticut Sun and 2 against the New York Liberty. And the New York Liberty are the second favorite to win the title. And the Sun have a very experienced roster with DeWanna Bonner and Alyssa Thomas. So she's playing the WNBA's top teams in her first couple of games and is still doing rather well. And then you look at like some of the assist numbers. I believe she's led the team in assists each game. That's only going to improve as she gets, more comfortable with her teammates and they develop more chemistry. She and Aaliyah Boston have not exactly been on the same page for a lot of these games because they're new to playing together. And that's why you're seeing a ton of turnovers as well. 10 turnovers, 3, 8, 5. That's not typical Caitlin Clark. But again, it's the adjustment. Those are going to be cut down as she gets more used to this style of play, as she gets more used to her teammates, and as she just gets more confident throughout the league. I mean, again, you're playing the top defensive teams in the league through these first 4 games. Wait until you play someone like, actually the Lynx have been pretty decent this year. Wait till you play someone like the Dallas Wings or the Atlanta Dream or, some of those, the Washington Mystics, some of those teams that aren't quite as good. And we're going to see those turnovers cut down. So I think she's doing fine for now. And I think she's only going to get better. Her points prop has been sitting around the same mark on most nights, around that 20 and a half mark. If the books were worried that her game wasn't going to translate or that she wasn't performing, they would be moving those down. I believe her assists around 4.5, 5.5 most nights. Those are staying the same. So that's just an indicator that Vegas has a pretty good idea of what she's going to be bringing to the floor every night. And for the most part, it's been fairly consistent through these first 4 games.